couple of weeks before I was to have my bar mitzvah, I came home one evening from one of those lessons, and I found our home locked. Our next door neighbor, who was not Jewish, saw me out there, took me into his home and told me that my parents, 2 brothers and sister were picked up and taken away. Where they were taken, he did not know.
Sam Weinreb is a longtime resident of White Oak, but in March 1941, he was a 13-year-old Jewish boy living in Czechoslovakia.
That afternoon was the last time I ever saw or spoke to any member of my family.
Sam's entire family was among the 6 million European Jews slaughtered by the Nazis during World War II. The Holocaust story has been told in many mediums in hopes of preventing future genocide.
One of the finest ways to teach about any human experience is through the arts. And the Holocaust is no different. I'd never heard about a Holocaust ballet ever. Theater, films, music, opera, never a ballet. And I said, how could this be? How can this be done?
The artistic director of Ballet Austin in Texas found a way. Stephen Mills created Light, the Holocaust and Humanity Project, the first ever Holocaust ballet.
Light is the story of a woman named Naomi Warren, who was a survivor of 3 different concentration camps during World War II. And while it is specifically about her story, it also encompasses other stories and other experiences that many survivors may have experienced.
When Mills was first approached about writing a Holocaust ballet, he was skeptical.
And we'll go slowly technically. I'm not Jewish. I wasn't alive during World War II, and I didn't know anyone at the time who had been affected by it. So I really didn't feel any moral authority to approach the subject. And yet, when I was convinced of the validity of my pursuing it, I determined that I had learned so much. You know, I visited 7 camps in Europe. I talked to 20 survivors.
The Pittsburgh Ballet Theatre is the first company to present Light outside of Austin. Mills insisted his dancers learn about the subject in depth. The entire Pittsburgh company traveled to Washington, D.C. to visit the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum.
For me and everybody that went, it was truly a changing experience. I understood a lot more about World War II and about the Holocaust than I'd ever had before. And also we've had the chance to have 2 survivors be able to have a talk with us and come in and tell their story, so that we had some kind of stories besides Naomi's to go by.
Pittsburgh Holocaust survivor Sam Weinreb met with the dancers and shared the story of how his neighbor helped him escape into Hungary.
The next 5 to 6 months, I lived outdoors on the streets of Budapest, most of the time sleeping behind a factory that was closed at night, and I felt fairly safe. During the day, I had the difficult job of trying to get some food. Can you just imagine what it is like to be only 13 years old and not having a home to go to, not knowing where you will sleep each night, not knowing where you will get your food each day, not being able to speak the language of the country that you are in, and be in constant fear.
Do you think it's going to be difficult to go and watch this performance?
Looking back, when I was 13, I wasn't having to flee from people or eat out of a trash can or just wonder what the next day was going to bring.
Hearing his story makes it closer to home, so you have more to relate to and more to give when you're performing in the piece.
Sam was thrown into prison for being an alien Jew. 2 years later, the Nazis arrived, rounded up all the Jews in Hungary, and sent them to Auschwitz-Birkenau, the infamous camp where millions were gassed to death.
At the gate of the camp, there were German officers who were separating our people as we were entering that camp. Some of our people were sent to the left and some to the right. The people that were sent to the left, and I was in that group, were later sent to work for the Germans. The people that were sent to the right, who were mostly elderly people, women with young children, were all given a towel and a bar of soap, and they were told that they would shower and clean up. When they got to the place where they were to shower, doors were locked on them, and gas, instant water, came out of those showers.
It was really hard to wrap my brain around seeing the person who lived the events that he was talking about.
It was very emotional. After being in Auschwitz just a few days, we had some visitors that came to the barrack that I stayed in, and I will never forget that. It was one officer and two of his soldiers. And he began by saying, I want all of you to remember what I will be saying to you now. Auschwitz is a concentration camp where people will work or be sent to the gas chambers. If you're strong enough and are able to work, you may survive. If you're not able and cannot work, you'll be sent to the gas chambers. The choice is yours. Then this officer looked around and he asked two of the men to come forward. He said to them, I don't believe the two of you will be able to give us a good day's work, and shot both of them right on the spot.
Sam's story helped personalize the Holocaust for the dancers, giving them a sense of purpose in their performance.
It's getting real emotions out of us. It's really rich and deep.
It's not just you're acting anymore, you're actually bringing something out of it and trying to feel everything you can to really give what you want for this piece.
It's not just about the Holocaust. Genocide has been taking place since the Holocaust. It's about today. Genocide is taking place today. And what is our responsibility as citizens of the world? What is our responsibility to call out acts of bigotry and hate where we see them and do something about it?
And projects like Light are doing just that, keeping stories like Sam's alive. During a death march in 1945, Sam escaped. He married another survivor, Goldie, came to Pittsburgh and raised a family. Despite his tragic past, Sam Weinreb holds no bitterness, only hope for the future, and feels that Light will carry that message forward.
It's another way of telling the people what was going on, and also that they should remember what happened and that it will not happen again.